welcome aboard a very, very small 757 spy flight today. This is the default Cessna 152. And hello, I'm Dave. I do the spy flight over on Twitch, and most of the time when I'm doing videos here on YouTube, it's cold and dark how-to and first look videos at the latest and greatest super duper complex jetliners that have come out. But we are a couple of days away from the 4th of July, Independence Day in the United States, and the scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator is truly one of the most amazing things that I've seen in flight simulation. It is absolutely stunning, and that's my own opinion. I am not sponsored by anybody, so I'm not saying things to sell you something. What I'm here to do today is there's a lot of new people that have started flying with Microsoft Flight Simulator, and they don't have a pilot's license or a jet pilot, and they're kind of, what do we do with this? Well, one of the things that you can do is you can do a 4th of July holiday and just basically go and see the sights. And this is one of the airplanes that is so good for seeing the sights, and the big reason is because of that upper wing there. In other words, you get to look down and you get to see all the really, really great scenery. So what we're going to do is do a little flight plan and go and fly and see Mount Rushmore. Perfect place to go for the U.S. Independence Day holiday. And the way that we're going to go ahead and do this, it's really pretty simple. I'm using all free stuff here. There is absolutely nothing that I have modded. Nothing is payware in here. I am using the deluxe version of Microsoft Flight Simulator because I'm pretty addicted to Flight Simulator. The first step in admitting that you have a problem is admitting it, or stuff. So anyway, so anyhow, and I realized that my face was up here when I was talking about that high wing up there, and you get to see the incredible view below you. Yeah, this is an incredible sightseeing airplane for sure. This is also the airplane that I got my private pilot's license is, the Cessna 152. This is the Aerobat. One of the ways you can tell it's an Aerobat is it's got the really cool windows up here. So you can kind of look up or look down if you're going to fly inverted. So let's see here. What are we going to do today? This is going to be a real simple flight. We're going to take the Cessna 152 out of Rapid City, South Dakota. All I'm using, I guess I am using Navigraph charts here, but we can also get free charts. And so why don't we just scratch that? And I'm going to go ahead and turn off my Navigraph right now, and we're going to use something else. So SkyVector and METAR.TAF are the things that we're going to do. So let's do a very, very quick flight plan. And the first thing that we need to do is use this great resource here. It's an online real-world flight planner called SkyVector. And so what I've done is this is the World VFR chart. I went and found Rapid City Regional Airport, and I've got 2 checkpoints in here, and that's it. So how did I do this stuff? Well, let's go ahead and I'm going to clear out what it is that I did. So I just cleared out the flight plan. We're zoomed in here, and so we can see, okay, there's Rapid City Airport right there. And if you look over here to the southwest, it says Mount Rushmore Monument. Okay, so let's go ahead and make our departure airport KRAP. Yes, I get to have all sorts of silly fun with those with that ICAO code. Okay, so the next thing let's do is for this airplane, let's get a little bit of help from the VOR. And this is going to be the Rapid City VOR. So let's just type in RAP. And now all of a sudden, you can see that 5 nautical miles away from the airport is the center of the Rapid City VOR, okay? The next thing to do is now here is this Mount Rushmore area right down here. So there's Rushmore. Now, watch what happens after the map loads. I'm going to right-click, and you see how it's got all sorts of interesting things? Let's go ahead and use this GPS position and put that into the plan too. And we're not going to use the GPS, but we're going to use this because this tells us that we need to be on the 240-degree radial going outbound of the Rapid City VOR. So there we go. Now we know how to do that. And then from this point, we're going to go ahead and put KRAP right back in there. And now we've got a little triangle here. So now we know by looking at our flight plan, we're going to take off heading 148 degrees for 5 miles. We're going to turn to the right to 241 for 20 miles. And in 20 miles, if we're on the 241 degree radial, we should see Mount Rushmore. So we'll buzz Rushmore and then come back and then land. So there we go. There is our flight plan. Now, if you want to go a further step, you could go and hit the navlog button here. And this is going to give you your course settings. It's also going to give you frequencies. This is a real simple flight. So I don't necessarily know that we've got to use that, but this is something that's you can do. Now, there's something over here where it says sign in and log on and stuff like that. Unless you're a real world pilot, you don't need to do that, okay? This is for real world stuff, and you could inadvertently perhaps even file a real world flight plan if you set up a bunch of things in here, perhaps, maybe, and you don't want to do that. So there we go. So what's going to be our altitude here? What should we fly? How should we do this flight? What altitude? Well, here is 3,896 foot tower. So there's a broadcast tower over here. And let's see, we've got, it says 742. Here's a 5,400 foot tower there. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, so the highest obstruction or mountain is 6,500 feet in this grid square here. So why don't we start off with going for something like 5,000 feet, and we'll adjust from there. So that way we can avoid the tower. And I tell you what, one of the things that I really wish that flight simulators could start doing is including, broadcast towers, because they're important landmarks in the real world. But there's, people that are a little concerned about security and stuff like that. It's sort of like, if it's on the chart, it should be in the sim, but that's not my call. But those were important landmarks that real world pilots use. All right, so now we know about that. Now let's go ahead and do a check of the weather. Here's the other free resource that I like to use, and this is METAR-TAF. And so METAR-TAF is a great way to check the current weather. And so right now our winds are, well, it's VFR, beautiful day in the neighborhood, clear skies, couldn't ask for better weather. We have a 9-knot wind though out of the north. So the better runway is going to be runway 32, taking off to the north. I'm going to play around a little bit though. Let's try a crosswind takeoff. Let's go and use runway 5. Now, I said I wasn't going to use my Navigraph charts. What could we do here? Well, in the United States, here in SkyVector, you can come up here and you can go and click the airport diagram. And there is your airport diagram. Now, you can also use something called ChartFox if you want to go and do things outside of the United States. It's not complete. ChartFox doesn't have everything, but that's another good free alternative for you as you're getting started. And that's it. We're ready to go. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to turn up the sound here, and you can hear a little bit of the breeze starting to blow. And let's go ahead and get in our Cessna. The model of this Cessna here is actually really, really good. So if you look up here on the Cessna, you can see the red things there. Those are the fuel tanks. And if you're a student pilot and a real Cessna pilot, you actually climb up. There's a foothold here and a place to grab on. And then you also, if you look over in here, you can see there's another place to put your foot right here. So you got 1 foot here, 1 foot here, you're holding there, and you lean over and you actually open the fuel and you visually check the fuel tank. That's just one of the things that you'll do. The pitot tube, you would check that, make sure there's not any bugs in there. Yeah, there can be bugs in there. You would go through and let's see, you would check there's like a fan belt. You would check the fan belt in there. You'd also grab the prop and you'd pull it down and check the piston here on the wheel. Make sure it kind of bounces up and down. You'll also, like real jet pilots, they'll go and they'll examine the wheels. So you could actually do a pretty good walk around in this airplane, just like the real pilots would do. And that's why this is the airplane that you use for the flying lessons in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop into the best seat in the house. And I've got to tell you, sitting in here just looking at this is, except for the digital radios, the newer digital radios, the ones I had were not quite as nice. But this is exactly what it looked like. Yeah, when I was getting my private pilot's license. It's absolutely, it's really, really, really well done. We didn't have a nice little stopwatch like this, though, in here. We had to use our own. So let's go ahead, and it's time to start getting ready to go. I generally will turn this off as we're getting started. You just click the yoke area, and it gets rid of the yoke. So it just kind of gets it out of your way. Okay, so just kind of a look around the cockpit. Everything is pretty good. The one thing to do is parking brakes. Parking brake is off. Parking brakes are now on. So we got that in there. Let's go ahead and we're going to turn on the on switch. And so master switch goes on. Airplane's going to start making a little bit of noise here. And since there's somebody in the cockpit doing some buttons, I'm going to hit the nav button. Nav lights. So the lights on the wingtips and the tail are now illuminated. That tells anybody walking around on the ground, hey, there's some knucklehead in the cockpit of this thing, and the Assassin's Creed swords on the front of the airplane might start spinning at any time. Okay, so we've got those on, so that's good. The altimeter. What are we going to do for the altimeter? Well, let's see. The altimeter here is, and you can use METAR TAF and go over to METAR TAF, and our altimeter is 3004. Just saying it should be 3007, but you know, I'm not whining. Okay, so let's dial this around to 300. Oops, that's too much. 3004. Now, you could also check, remember that little chart that we had here? So let's look over at the sky vector chart. And the sky vector chart says that the airport elevation, and I'm not familiar with this one, so ASOS airport diagram, it's 3,000. I know it's in here somewhere. Elevation here, it's 3143. So that's at the end of the runway. So 3143, is that relatively close here? 3,100. I'd say that's relatively close. Okay, so that looks good. Now then, it's time to prime the pumps. So we actually have an engine primer on this airplane. And so that's this thing. Pull it out. 1, 2, 3. 3 pumps. Three. And you actually smell the aviation gasoline when you pull this thing. And there's no fuel pumps on this airplane because the fuel is up here in the wings. And so it uses gravity to get in there, but you do have to prime it just a little bit. Okay, so we prime the pumps. We're going to turn on the red rotating beacon. So the beacon's going to go on there. And let's go over here, and the mixture should have been lean, idle cutoff. We're going to go mixture rich, so that looks good. And then we can come over here, and I think you can even open this. Well, you can't, but you'd open it, and you'd yell clear prop, and look around, make sure there's nobody in front of the propeller. And so let's go ahead and we're going to go and start it up. Let's also go ahead and move the throttle in just a little bit. By the way, all of the settings that I'm using on this right now are default settings. I'm at absolutely no customized settings here. Ready to go? Let's see if it works. Oh, you know what? You know what I may have forgotten to do? There is the fuel cutoff. Got to turn the fuel cutoff on. There we go. I'm going to do an extra whack on the old primer just in case. We never used to turn off the fuel cutoff. The only time that they used the fuel cutoff was when the flight instructor would kind of sneak his hand down there and try and do and flip it off so that we could practice engine failures and stuff like that in flight. Needless to say, my flight instructors were never really sly. Okay, let's go ahead and try and start the engine. Hey, look at that. And take the throttle and roll it back just a little bit. And about 1,000 RPM. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and see. I need to go and I need to set a view here for our radios. So let's see. Let's go and do this one here. Okay, remember we need to set nav 1. We need to set nav 1 to the Rapid City VOR. So we can come over here and we can look over here and see, Rapid City VOR is 112.3. So let's go over here and do 112.3. And there we go, and make that active. Oh, look at this. The VOR actually showed us something there. So our first course heading is going to be 148 degrees. So let's dial the OBS over here for 148 degrees. We'll just kind of crank it around and crank it around. There's 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. Oh, look at that. We're pretty centered up there. 148 degrees. There we go. That looks good too. Okay, I think it's time to go and do that taxi thing. So, if you've got rudder pedals, put your feet on the rudder pedals. Make sure your chair does not tilt back. Otherwise, when you're going to push the rudder pedals, that's going to be a problem. All right, we'll look down here. And parking brake is off. Tow brakes are on. Tow brakes are on. That looks good. Now, we've got somebody up here. That's just the scenery. So, we were going to go to runway 5. So, we'll look at our ground chart. And so, we're right over here. So let's do a loop around this guy here, and we're going to go and do go over to this Alpha 3 area here. No, actually, you could probably do Golf 2. Golf 2 to taxiway Alpha to runway 5. Okay? And in fact, well, of course, this knucklehead, this person's right in the middle of everything. Dude, get out of the way. All right, so we got to go around this person. All right, so we'll go down here, and we're going to do taxi light. And parking brakes are released. Add a little bit of power till we're going. The airplane does bounce around like this. My sensitivities, I'm just using the default settings. So eventually at some point in time, you're going to want to change your default settings and change your sensitivities. Mine are way too sensitive for this airplane. And there is runway 5. Now, normally we do a run-up and stuff like that. I think we ought to fly today. So what we're going to do is take off and make a right turn. Okay? Take off at a right turn. This is the fun part. Mixture rich. Are we ready? Out onto the runway. There you can see our little windsock there. We're on a runway now, so we're going to do strobes. Let everybody know this airplane's going to be on the runway. It's okay to be a bit of an attention freak. And get lined up. Once you're lined up down the runway, then at that point in time you do landing lights. In case you're, because landing lights are pretty bright. You don't want to blind anybody. Trying to remember which all my buttons are here. Okay, landing lights. Shall we go and do flying? Let's do flying. Take off, make a right turn. So throttles generally go up. Gently go up, not generally. Okay, you're going to need right rudder. There's this thing on these airplanes called torque and P factor. That's the propeller spinning, kind of makes you want to go off to the right a bit. And 55 is a good speed to pull gently back on the nose. And we are up, up, and away. This airplane, tap on the brakes after you take off. It stops them spinning. And right turn. Climbing 3,000 feet. We decided on 5,000 feet. We're looking for a heading of 148 degrees. And look at that. We're nicely centered up on the OBS here. Oh, somebody turned a little bit too much. Now we're doing 180. Let's see if we can center ourselves up on 148. There it is. Now we're centered up. Back over to 148 degrees. How about just 150 in an airplane like this? Nice little climb, about 700 feet per minute. Don't forget to look outside and enjoy the view. Especially with a simulator like this. There's 4,000 feet. Why don't we stop at 4,000 feet? So how about roll that throttle back. There we go, about 2,100 RPM. Let's trim to hold 4,000 feet. We're getting off our VOR. No autopilot here. There's 4,000. So about 2,100 RPM, and we should be able to trim. And how's our heading? 148. We're pretty good, but we're slowly getting off to the side. Look at that. It's going way, way off. You know why that's going on? Because we're about ready to cross over the VOR. See the little triangle here? See the little triangle right there? That thing's about ready to flip down. When that flips down, we've gone over the VOR. I didn't turn on my transponder today. The transponder police are going to come get me. So it's way, way, way off to the side right now. We're still right. We're holding our course pretty good. But we're just waiting to see that thing flip over. And then we're going to turn right to a heading of 241 degrees. And if you trim it up pretty good, you should be in a really good spot here. Whoa, getting a little bit off to the side there. Let's get back on our course. A lot of times, if you look as you're going over a VOR, you will be able to see, whoops, throttle's a little low. Let's get it closer to 2,100. You'll see the VOR station in the scenery. Should be over that VOR about any time now. There it goes. Did you see the triangle just flipped? So right turn, 241. You could also start dialing this around to 241 too. There's 2-1. There's a 2-4. Oh, a little bit too tight of a turn. There is 2-4, 0, and a 1. And looking for 2-4. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now, this thing isn't going to be centered up immediately because we're in such a tight, close vicinity to the VOR. But let's just go and try and get this set up here. Okay, how we doing here? A little bit of nose down trim. 4,000 feet is what we decided to do. And this airplane is going to bounce you about a bit. Okay, these airplanes are a little bouncy. This is not a jet. But I will tell you, this is absolutely the best part of Microsoft Flight Simulator, is being able to look out the windows like this and see the scenery. And I tell you what, if you live near Rapid City Airport, this is what it's going to look like. This is how good it looks. I don't believe that this airplane is equipped with a DME. I think all we have on this airplane is an ADF. Yeah, there's no DME, so there's nothing that's going to be able to tell us that we're there. All we can really do at this point is stay this course. Now, if you want to, you could use VFR map. That's within Microsoft Flight Simulator. If you do have something like Navigraph, it does have a moving map, so you can go and engage the moving map. And you can use that too, just to see how you're doing. Yep, about 200 feet high. And we may have to go to 5,000 feet here. And how we doing? 241, 241. So all this is looking good. As we get further and further away from this, now we may need to do a little bit of a turn into the right here, because I turned after the VOR. So we're probably not right on that 241 degree radial. So let's go a few degrees to the right and see if we catch up with that. Some other things that we can do using the VFR maps here. This is a railroad, so we could look for a railroad line as we come across here, and there's going to be a highway. I don't see any lakes or anything here, but there should be a railroad and a highway. And I think I see the highway up ahead. Sometimes in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you'll even see a train on the, modeled. I think it's only in some custom sceneries. See, but there's also a little bit of a ridge, it looks like here. Still looking for the train and the railway. See, if I wanted to have been a good pilot, I could have gone over here and gone to the transponder and gone to altitude reporting. And 1200 is a good VFR transponder code here in the United States for just buzzing about. Okay, there's a road there. The road that we're looking for, though, doesn't turn. That's just a small road. This looks like it's more of a highway. Excuse me, sorry about the big snarf there. Afraid that there are still allergies here. Hey, this is promising. What's this? Is this our railroad? Are these our train tracks? Possibly these are our this is our railroad. We'll wait and see. Hey, that looks like a railroad to me. That sure does. Yeah, we just passed the railroad. So we just got 2 for the price of 1. Instead of flight sim, we just got a little bit of train sim. So there is our railroad. The next thing is going to be this highway. And then there's just going to be a bunch of little gulches and stuff. So we know that we're right about here. And look at that. I think we're seeing a highway. And we're also getting a little bit low. I think I'm going to go ahead. Let's start thinking about going up to 4,500. Let's add a little bit of altitude here. Okay, and look at this. You can see that the VOR is slowly coming around here. We're going basically west right now. So, we're kind of going a little bit off to the right here. All right, and if you look over, this is South Dakota Highway number 79. So there we go. Sometimes there's scenery errors. You'll see the cars that are driving by are hovering above. Sometimes there's going to be a scenery error on stuff like this, but there's our highway. All right, so this is looking good, and we are not doing a very good job of climbing, are we? Probably ought to add just a little bit more power too. Little bit more propeller here. 4,500. Those trees are getting awfully close. 500 feet per minute should do it. Okay, we're coming close. You can see our VOR is starting to come close here. So keep climbing. And as soon as we get on the VOR, we're going to make a little bit of a right turn on our heading. And hopefully that sets us up for a really, really nice, how about 2,400 RPM? That should put us right on top of what it says the monument is. One of the things that it says on the flight map, on the VFR map, is about a high volume of helicopter tour aircraft below 7,500 feet. So there's a lot of tourist helicopters that are flying around here. Okay, here's 7,500 feet. No, 4,500, excuse me. We're going to go ahead and key. Let's go ahead and go a little bit higher. Little more nose up trim, and you can see the VOR is getting a little bit closer too. More homes and farmhouses. All of this, like I said, except for the price of the simulator itself and the fact that I've got Thrustmaster pilot controls and stuff like that, everything is default or free that I'm using on this. I did turn on Navigraph just so I could have a little more of a moving map, but you know, there is a really cool application that you can get for free, and it's called Little Nav Map. And Little Nav Map would be really good for this kind of a flight. I didn't think to use it, but that would have been good for flight planning. You'd also get a moving map. You'd also get some DME information, so that's good. All right, let's go ahead and there's 5,000 feet. Let's go ahead and climb a little higher because those hills are a little high. And if you look straight ahead, I'm seeing some interesting rock things here right in front of the airplane. Could that be Mount Rushmore? And for those of you that have seen some older movies, you ought to keep a close eye out for Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint hanging off of, what was it, Jefferson's Nose or something like that? That was the Hitchcock film, North by Northwest. After we fly over Rushmore, we turn back to the airport on a heading of 053 degrees. There's some interesting looking things ahead of us. And if you go outside of your airplane, the view gets even better. How are we doing? There's 5,500. So what we'll do is we're going to fly over the monument. Then we'll make a left turn, descend, and do a flyby, and turn back for the airport. We're right on the VOR. I don't know. I think those are some presidents right ahead of us there. Now, if you want to make your flight a little bit better, if you know about the Spy Flight over on Twitch, you know we're always talking about food. So one of the things that you could also do, you know, if you didn't get to go on a vacation, you're kind of stuck at home and for various reasons and stuff, you know, one of the things that you could do is for this flight, go to the, you know, get some of your 4th of July favorite snacks, just put them in the cockpit. Make sure you don't spill them in your keyboard. I've got one of my favorite beverages here. It is the Arnold Palmer iced tea and lemonade. Very nice and cool for warm. Okay, here we are. We're coming up on 6,000. I think that we are headed straight for this. And there is 6,000 feet. Let's go ahead and level off. I think we're going to be slightly above it here. One of the control bindings that I have set up is, you know how you got a hat switch where you can move around like this? Well, on the on my system, on my controllers, I only have one hat switch. So the look up and look down, I've rebound the look up and look down buttons to trim up and down. And I've got to tell you, that is probably one of the best control bindings that I've ever done. It really does help a lot. I'm leaning the mixture out just a little bit. We've climbed a little bit. We're at 6,000 feet. There we go. And I'm not looking at the RPM. I'm just listening to the sound. A lot of pilots will just listen to the sound on this, and then you can verify. So if you're leaning out the mixture, if you pull it back and then you start to notice a big RPM drop at that point in time, that's when you would go ahead and you would and you would push it forward a little bit. I would say we have got a very good view here. I absolutely see presidents here. So again, we're going to fly over. We're going to make a left turn. We're going to go out a little bit. We're going to turn back for the monument, and and we should actually have the presidents looking right at us. We're actually on the back side right now. So you can see. So this is in North by Northwest. This Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint were running over this thing here. I don't know that they actually did any real filming there. I'm not sure. I think that an awful lot of it was done in studio. And there we go. So, yep, there is. Yeah, there's that famous park building. So let's do our right turn. Our left turn, yeah, my other right. There you go. And we can kind of look down there, keep a close eye out. Okay, that's probably good. There's a good 90-degree turn. We're going to go like this a little bit. Look out the window. Okay, there's the monument. There's the guest house. And if you have real world weather, you are going to get bounced around. If you don't want to get bounced around, just do clear skies. The clear sky setting here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And then when you decide you want to really get into, you know, flying in real world weather, then you can crank it back in there. Okay, that's probably enough. Let's go ahead and do a 180. So we're looking for about 350 degrees. And there's our presidents. Now there's going to be a little something that I'm going to do here as we get closer. And that's pretty good. So pause. We just hit the pause button. Okay. So now we can go over and we can get views. And we're going to go to showcase camera, make sure free camera is set. We're going to go and make it about 114. And we're going to turn the volume down a little bit and go over like this. And now we can drone up and get all up close and personal with the presidents. So there's Rushmore. If you want to see what it would be like from the visitors, this is the little amphitheater that they have down here. So you can come down to the amphitheater, and this is where they do the show, I guess. So I think that they went down, I think they went down Jefferson in the movie. I think they went down Jefferson in the movie. And there you go. That can be your Microsoft Flight Simulator 4th of July holiday trip. How about that? Now, if you go down and go up and down around here, see if we can't find our airplane. There's our airplane. So we'll get the drone camera back over to our airplane. There's our airplane. Okay, so we're good to go there. Now, once you're ready, get back in your seat. Put your feet on your rudder pedals. Camera. Cockpit. Turn that off. Hand on your stick before you do anything and pause. And we don't want to run into the president, so we're going to make our turn. and we're looking for a heading of 053 degrees. There's 053. So long, presidents. Thank you. You're always going to bounce around when you go out of the active pause thing there like that. So you're always going to bounce around a little bit like that, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. And there you go. So again, it's super duper simple to do this kind of flight planning. Go over here and get Sky Vector. And just to get to the Mount Rushmore, remember all I did was I right-clicked. So let's say that we wanted to go to Rockerville. Right-click in Rockerville, and you see that says GPS, the one at the bottom, hit the plan button, and that just inserts it into your flight plan. Okay, so that's what's going to give you those course headings that I had to know, you know, that to get back to the airport, we should be flying a heading of 053 degrees. And that's how we do that. And there is a really nice 4th of July holiday. And you know what? You can do this with anything. It doesn't have to be Rushmore. You can do for holidays any place in the world. If you've got some sort of a visual monument, an outdoor monument that you want to go and check out, you can flight plan exactly the same way that I did, and fly the Eiffel Tower. One of the people that regularly watches the Spy Flight, Sunjammer, did a really, really great tour of Osaka, Japan for us, it was a fun flight. So you can do really nice visual flights like this. And we also use the kinds of tools that real-world pilots use for flight planning. And we flew this airplane the way a real-world pilot would fly it. So a real-world pilot would fly it. Boy, I got to get that thing marketed or something. The links to Sky Vector and METAR TAF I'm going to include in the description below, so you should be able to click on that. Again, the flight plan was just a simple VOR out to a GPS point and in the Cessna, and it was really, really simple. So I'm going to about 5,000 feet right now. If you like this, if this is the first time that you saw this, normally I'm flying around in jet airliners, in Microsoft Flight Simulator and X-Plane. Most of the videos that I do here are what I call the cold and dark videos, and that is basically you walk up to an airplane, everything is off, and you're able to take off and fly to a whole new place, and then land and be somewhat successful at it. And so I usually do those. We do group flights all the time over in X-Plane, and you're always welcome to come and join us in X-Plane too. We fly Tuesday through Sunday at 1900 Zulu. That is 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time if you're in the U.S. Usually the first flight that we do is just in multiplayer, so there's no air traffic control, but then after that we really like to jump into VATSIM flying. And if you're unaware, VATSIM is an online network. It's like multiplayer, only this has people not only flying around like this, like I like to do, but it's also got people who like to do air traffic control. And you get a lot of really good air traffic control. And let's see. We're looking pretty good. We're sort of to the north of the radial. What I was basically going to do is, you remember that highway? I was going to go and take that highway, which goes right by the airport. So what we're looking is that 2-lane highway, South Dakota Highway 93. And so we're going to look for our 2-lane highway, and that's going to take us right up to the airport. Visual flight references, that's the way you'll start learning how to be a private pilot. One of the other flight suggestions that I really like to suggest that you do if you just got Microsoft Flight Simulator is what I call the I can see my house from here flight. So if you look down, you see here's a house here and it's got a blue top. Chances are the house that's right there in the real world has a blue top, just like that. So one of the really cool things to do is take off from your hometown airport and fly in the general direction of your house and look down. Most everybody that does that is really pretty surprised at how good, because all of the scenery that you see out here is taken from satellite, you know, Google Earth satellite types of scenery. Hey, there's our highway. So we'll go and buzz a few cars here. And it'll take us right by the airport. The winds again, you can see if we go over here to Meetar Taff, the winds are actually kind of whistling right down the north-south runway. So why don't we land on runway 32? That'll be easy enough. Some interesting, very, very complex airplanes are now available for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and they're really nice. I've been flying around in the PMDG 737 a lot, and I say that as somebody that's always been kind of ho-hum about 737s. There's our highway. Let's do a little bit of a turn. If you're wondering about the way that my views change, my views are changed with the numeric keypad, and there is a system of quick views that you can use in Microsoft Flight Simulator. One of the things that I've tried to do with my quick views, though, is I've tried to make those views the same for every airplane. So view number 0, the big 0 key on your number pad, that's always sort of like the main flying view is what I try and do there. Number 1 is the autopilot. There is no autopilot on this airplane. Number 5 is always the upper panel. No upper panel on this one. So I also have a controls view. There's the radio view, that sort of thing. And I try and make them all the same because airplanes all have, mostly the same things. So if you do that sort of thing, that's going to really help you out, especially with views. Now, another thing that you could use, and I think would be particularly good with this airplane, is Track IR. And that's sort of an eye tracker, a head tracker. So as you move and look like this, your view moves with your head and stuff. And that's kind of a neat thing to do. Generally, I only do that in DCS world. Fighter planes kinds of things, and it really helps out over there. But in the big jets, I just generally prefer to use the little quick views. But that's quite the little time saver too. On the 4th of July, over on Twitch on the Spy Flight, we're going to do this very flight again, and then we'll go back to Rapid City, South Dakota, and we'll depart from the airline terminal and just go do a little flying around like we usually do. The Spy Flight also has a Discord, so if you're new in Microsoft Flight Simulator and you've got questions, there are a lot of really cool, smart people who fly along with me. They know all about systems a lot better than I do. They know about systems, they know about best setups for Microsoft Flight Simulator and a lot of other games. And if you go over to one of the tabs like tech support or something like that and put in a question, chances are you're going to have an answer fairly quick. And that's a really cool thing about that they've got, that you'll find over on the Spy Flight. Going to make a little bit of a turn here to the right. Also, if you've just gotten Microsoft Flight Simulator and you were able to go through the flying lessons, but you're kind of having a hard time with the big jetliners and stuff, that's another good thing that we can probably help out and make this a little bit of fun for you. See, how we doing with gas? We got plenty of gas. Not going to run out, which is good. So we're going to make a little bit of a turn here and start looking for an airport. There should be an airport here by the highway. We'll fly across our, no, we're landing to the north here. So why don't we just stay a little bit to the to the right of the highway here and see if we can't find our runway. It's going to be big and long. Oh, actually, no, I'm on the wrong highway. Whoops. Okay, so what we ought to do is we are coming up on a split. We need to make a turn here. Now, the airport's that way. I got faked out. That's one of the things that's going to happen to you, though, here in Flight Simulator. There are things that are going to kind of fake you out a little bit. And it's okay. You saw how we were able to look at a map and we figured out, uh-oh, I'm kind of in the wrong direction here. So a nice gentle turn, and there should be an airport that's coming up here pretty quick. Now there's going to be a road, and I'm using my moving map here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I thought this was I thought we were coming up on the airport here. It's actually over here. So we'll go ahead and we'll land on runway 5. I see the control tower. I think I see the runway. We've been slowly descending a little bit now. As you get ready for your descent, you're going to want to do mixture rich. And you may even want to start slowing it down for flaps and stuff. And the flap speed, so there's a little white arc down here. So you'd slow your airplane down until the airspeed is in the white arc. And that's when you can start rolling out some flaps. So let's go ahead. And I'm going to run my throttle down to about 20 RPM here. I think we're a little bit to the south of our runway, so let's go up here a little bit more. I don't want to lose altitude, so we're 3,400 feet. Now there's speed, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and do one click of flaps. There's one click of flaps. There's the control tower. I see a flashing light. Okay, going a little bit slow now. Let's add a little bit of power here. And we'll just do a flaps 10 for landing here. Hey, look at that. There's our runway. There's runway 5. Perfect. I was just going over and checking myself to see. So you can see the airport beacon is flashing at us there. That's a good thing to look at. Now, this is going to be a bit of a crosswind. Remember when we looked at METAR TAF? So the winds for runway 5 are going to be coming from the north. So they're going to want to blow us off to the right. So we're going to be a little crabby on our landing. All right. Oh, we actually have some PAPI lights too for landing. So I think we're a little high at the moment. So let's roll the throttles back a bit. How about another click of flaps? And takeoff and landing a good, right around 55, 60 miles an hour, or it's knots. There's actually older airplanes that are in miles an hour. We're still a little bit too... Okay, so you see the nose is like this and we're going down, so that's what they call crab. So we're a little bit crabby coming in. Brakes. I'll call that a fairly decent landing. Nobody spilled their drink, right? Nobody got mustard on there? All right, so there we go. And looking at the chart, there should be a taxiway coming out here. If it looks like we're kind of going uphill, one of the interesting things is not every airport is completely flat. So we are actually going uphill. Let's also put our flaps up. Flaps are going up. And there should be a taxiway up here. Look at that. There's blue lights. There's a taxiway. And we are off. And do a nice little turn. And yes, at some airports, the weeds get pretty tall pretty fast. Some airports in real rural areas, like in Montana, if somebody hasn't landed in a while, sometimes they have to run a truck up and down the runway to make sure that, moose and bears are not on your runway. So you kind of have to watch out for that, which is kind of interesting. And there we go. We did it. We'll go back and taxi on in. There is also, whoa, let's get over. Oh, I know. I'm trying to steer with my nose wheel steering that I normally do in the big jets, and the nose wheel steering doesn't work on this airplane. We're also picking up speed because we're going downhill. You steer with your rudder pedals on the Cessna. Going way too fast on a taxiway. There we go. That's where our nose wheel's supposed to be, on the little yellow line. It's a little easier to taxi inside. But because of the amazing scenery that we've got here, I mean, there's so much, so many points of interest or, touristy things to go and check out. And the tower or ground will clear us across the runway, and we'll go and find ourselves a place to park. And then it's time to go and grab a hamburger or something like that, or your favorite July 4th food. So today on the Spy Flight, we are going to do a West Coast flight, basically up the West Coast from San Diego to Canada with a stop. I think we're stopping in San Jose. Okay, so there's somebody out there waving at us. Are you trying to wave us in? Sometimes you get guidance going in. Or are you just somebody, some random person? Okay, not bad. Look down here, parking brakes. Parking brakes are on. Mixture, idle cutoff. Now we're gonna go ahead and turn off the transponder. We'll turn off the landing light, should have done that. The taxi light can go out, that looks good. And we could also turn off the strobes. We're off the runway. We're gonna turn off the beacon, so that's good too. We're gonna go and turn off the key. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the master switch. And we made it. Look at that. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was arrested. How about that? So Mount Rushmore. And you can also use the drone cam to go and do a little bit of exploring. One of the places that we went exploring was Blue Lagoon in Iceland. That was pretty spectacular too. Going and seeing places like, one of my favorites is also going and seeing the Acropolis in Athens. That is a really good time too. And there you go. So what this really was this is not a whole lot about the right way versus the wrong way. This is kind of what works for me. And I figure that's one of the best things that I can do to help people that are just discovering Microsoft Flight Simulator and learning about some of the new cool things that we have here. I'm still really new here on YouTube, so I'm still reading all questions and comments. And if you've got a suggestion or a flight like this that you'd like to see me do to help you get your airplane off the ground, you can pop that in there. If there's something that I did that was completely wrong, please pop that in to chat too. And I hope you'll join us over on the Spy Flights. It's live on Twitch at 757 Spy. As I said, I am new here on YouTube, so I'm not getting any support. But if you liked what you saw and wanted to encourage some more, wanted to say thanks, you could also go over to Twitch and just hit the sub button. I also just started doing Ko-fi here on YouTube, and that would really be appreciated. And there you go. I hope you have a very, very happy 4th of July holiday. I hope you're able to stay as safe as you can and enjoy the time with family and friends. And I will look forward to seeing you here on YouTube again real soon, and even sooner on Twitch. Cheers.